Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, we're going to talk about suppressors. Some of you might know them called as silencers. And those of you who call them suppressors are outraged right now. And you're like, they're not silencers. They don't make anything silent. And that is definitely a true statement. But
I would also recommend you stop being such a bitch
uptight person.
Yeah.
You also get angry about magazines and clips.
Uh-huh. It's all right. It's
upset
be okay.
You a lot at night. That's typically the thing. So one of the things when you start getting into silencers is you'll find that one of your new best friends, if you're actually somebody who buys suppressors, is going to be silencershop.com. And you're like, well, they already got the name wrong, so they don't even know what they're doing. Well, okay, but you're going to find that they make it easy for you. And I'll tell you why. I probably should have actually reached out to them, see if they wanted to sponsor an episode. Maybe send me some free stuff. That would be. I know they make these silencer removers that are actually or suppressor removers, whatever you want to say. Well, they say silencer shop, so it kind of becomes interchangeable for me. I feel like they're the standard that are like oven mitts. So when your suppressor is really hot, you can pull it off. But I think they just found an oven mitt maker and just had them make them black and write silencer shop on it. Yeah. And I was like, I know those are only $4. My wife needs some of those.
Yeah, I can say that I have burned my fingerprints off my hand trying to do that sort of stuff, being stupid.
Yeah. I remember one of the tactical classes I'd taken. They were like, oh, in the movies, people are always like, yeah, when the guy comes around the corner, just grab the barrel of his gun and you can yank it out of his hand. And
yeah,
at the tactical training, they were like, yeah, just fire like 3 rounds and they'll realize how hot that barrel can be. Yeah, they'll let go. I imagine the noise and the jolt of it would be enough to rattle somebody, but if not, the heat will do them in. Definitely they heat up. We actually shared something on the Facebook group the other day that was like a picture of Scarlett Johansson or one of these attractive girls, and it was something about, well, is my my silencer that hot, or should I? What was it? Is the suppressor so hot that I should go to my pistol or keep going? And then it had like a picture of Scarlett Johansson, and you're like, oh yeah, that's how hot they could get. So now you're getting the idea.
Great, she's got those great big eyes. She's just a gorgeous
the big
woman.
eyes that you just like to look longingly into, right? Exactly. So now you're getting the idea. So anyway, the reason I say silencer shop is kind of cool is when you get a silencer, you require a tax stamp because the government doesn't let you do anything without putting their hands in it. And I don't know why they're against hearing conservation, because you're going to, those of you who know nothing about suppressors are probably thinking in your mind, well, my big concern is now you're going to secretly go around like James Bond and just, silently kill people without anyone knowing. Now, I would recommend if you want to sneak around and silently kill people, you just stab them in the neck with a screwdriver. So that could be your way of doing it. You don't actually need to buy a suppressed weapon.
Now we have to ban screwdrivers, Chuck. Great.
Oh. Well, okay. All right. So moving right along. Anyway. So our government requires a tax stamp. Now, a tax stamp, it's not that big a deal of a pain in the ass, but it is. Tax stamps are $200. So right there, that makes it a pain in the ass. Because some people want to make like a $79 suppressor or a $300 suppressor, and then you pay a $200 tax stamp, and you have to wait anywhere from, I'm going to say 2 to 8 months, but it's probably 3 or 4 to 8 months. It's more realistic in order to get it. And that's the bigger problem. And the other negative is you end up having to shell out the money before you get it. So you have to buy the suppressor. So there's a serial number assigned to you, and then fill out the information, wait for the ATF to approve it. Then you can go to the gun store and pick up your suppressor a year later or whatever. So that's kind of frustrating for a lot of people. So if you're thinking about doing it, I'd just order one right now, like the minute the episode's over. So then by the time you get around to actually committing, it'll be ready. So, that sounds right to me. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of information all over the internet. There isn't, a lot. But basically what happens is a suppressor disrupts the sound waves. When you shoot a gun, there's a little explosion, and all this pressure has to go out, and that sound dissipates and usually creates a sonic boom, and that boom is very loud, as well as the little explosion is very loud. So there's a couple of ways around that. So one, you want to have quieter ammo. That's actually the biggest step you can take. The problem is you trade velocity and speed in order to get quieter. The idea with subsonic rounds is people typically will make a heavier bullet, so you end up with an increased energy hitting the target, and then you have a slower velocity because it's heavier. However, the trade-off is not equal. When you have a larger bullet, it's not going to create enough more energy to compensate for the lack of speed that, is coming with it. So there's definitely a trade-off, but you can find a happier mix, especially in the larger caliber bullets. 300 blackout seems to be kind of the perfect suppressed round. The reason because of this is 5.56 is a little small. 22 is also actually a pretty neat suppressed round because it's a smaller, quieter gun to begin with, smaller, quieter bullet, and therefore ends up working out pretty good. But you kind of feel like, can I justify spending $700 to have a quieter 22 that's already pretty quiet? And if I buy subsonic rounds, my 22 really isn't that loud at all to begin with. So, what do you do? So bottom line, you're trying to disrupt those sound waves. And that's kind of a thing. So there was a German guy. Do we have a name? All right. No. His name is Maxim, is his last name. I was hoping for a first name, but
Hiram Maxim invented
it's Hiram.
the Maxim gum. it was Hiram Stevens Maxim invented the Maxim gun, which was
See?
basically the first automatic weapon. Um, but his son Hiram Percy Maxim was the one that invented the silencer. Now he actually invented the car muffler first, and then used the same.
First.
Yeah, and then used the same ideas behind the firearm silencer, the suppressor, and actually Teddy Roosevelt was one of the first adopters. He bought and used the Maxim silencers. So interesting little tidbit
nice. There. And now Maxim does not make silencers in the present day, although a lot of the old Maxim silencers are rather coveted. However, they do make Maxim mufflers to this day. So apparently there's more of a market in that car exhaust market than there is in the suppressed weapons market. But, hey, to each his own. So there's a lot of different things. So as you guys know, with muzzle devices on guns, when you shoot them, they heat up. And when metal heats up, it expands and contracts. Now, when you do that, that means the suppressor, you kind of like lightly thread it onto the gun, because once you get it on there tight, they're a pain to, change from weapon to weapon or take on and off. I know that James Bond always used to kind of like thread it on easy. Well, when it's brand new out of the box, it does go on easy. The taking it off gets, a little trickier as it goes on. But that's definitely a workaround. I have a lot of buddies who go to the range and slap them on and off. A silencer or suppressor that I looked at not that long ago from Griffin Armament makes the M4 SD2. Now this one is got like little clips so that it'll actually slide on to any NATO approved muzzle device. So you're thinking, hey, I have an AR-15 with an A2 flash hider, and turns out or maybe it's not a flash hider, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it'll clip right onto there. Basically, that little ring in the back, this thing will just squeeze and slide back to that ring on a lot of these different ends and just clip right up. So that makes it kind of cool. Now, the problem is the ATF requires a 16-inch barrel. And when you have a 16-inch barrel, you add a suppressor. Well, yeah, you're taking off like an inch and a half for replacing the muzzle device or covering the muzzle device. But then you're adding the length of the suppressor, and the longer they are, the quieter they seem to be, because it has more room and chance to dissipate those sound waves. So they can make for a long and a heavy gun. So what a lot of guys like to do is they get either a pistol, an AR-15 pistol, or they'll do a short barrel rifle, which guess what? A short barrel rifle also requires another tax stamp for $200 from the ATF. So and that also is a little more complicated to buy just because you can't go to silencer shop. They will sell you a short barrel rifle and do the paperwork for you, but they will not sell you the paperwork to build your own kind of thing. That's something you have to do on your own. Now, filling out the paperwork is not that big a deal. It's just that when you do it through silencer shop, they end up doing it digitally and sending it out right away. So that makes it nice and easy. Short barrel rifle will give it so that you could have the overall length that's going to, you could end up at 16 inches. Or you could get maybe a 10-inch or 11.5-inch barrel that's shorter. You get rid of the muzzle device, and then you throw on the suppressor. You could end up in the neighborhood of, maybe 17, 18 inches, nothing too crazy. The other thing that's kind of neat is you can do pinned and welded. Now, so what you do there, you find a suppressor that you like. I know Griffin Armament makes one where it comes with like a nut on the back that's actually pre-drilled, so you can have it pinned and welded to your gun. And the idea is this one is designed for that. Like they intend for you to pin and weld it to a gun, which makes it kind of neat because you can buy maybe a 10-inch barrel, add this 6-inch suppressor, makes it over 16 inches, have it pinned and welded. Now you have one gun that all the time is the right length, and you don't need to buy that second tack stamp. So that's kind of cool and, adds a lot of benefit there. Now, like I said, tack stamp isn't that big a deal, or you could get an AR-15, which is an AR-15 pistol, and then it doesn't matter that it has the short barrel. All that really makes up an AR-15 pistol is having basically a different stock. Now, if you buy a completed rifle, you can't put a short barrel on it and call it a pistol. For some reason, you have to buy it as a pistol or buy it as non-designated and make it into a pistol. You make it into a pistol by putting an appropriate stock, which for some weird reason, it's a pistol in the ATF's mind if you don't put it to your shoulder. So you'll see a lot of the stocks, and they call them braces for an AR-15 pistol, will be like a little clamp that's supposed to go around your forearm. You will notice on YouTube, a lot of guys put that to their arm. According to the ATF, if you ever put it to your arm, it becomes a rifle and you're a criminal and it's over. You're going to jail. Guys are coming with handcuffs, and they will shoot your dog. I mean, that's a given.
You're done for. It's done for. Your dog's done for.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that's going to play out. So, next problem you run into silencers. There is something called blowback. When you shoot a suppressed weapon, the gas is going out of the gun a lot slower. So it's going to come back at you. One of the guys in the Prepping Badass group actually turned me on to Adam's Arms, who makes, they call it a piston kit. What that does is instead of the gas coming back and blowing at you with a, back into the chamber at a reduced rate, now that we put a suppressor on there, this actually has the gas push on a piston, so the air ends up going forward and no gas is coming back to the chamber. The other cool thing about Adam's Arms and a lot of the other piston-driven gas systems are that they're adjustable. The reason adjustable is cool is when you buy a suppressor, you want to have a subsonic round option and a regular round option because it's still going to quiet down regular sonic bullets. So you need different gas pressure. So the idea is you need a variable gas block. Now, you could say, well, I only shoot suppressed rounds because why have a silencer if I'm not going to be quiet? And that kind of idea. Well, that's great. And you can have a gas block that's set to the right size if you know what you're doing and you know which one to pick. But if you have an adjustable gas block, you can select between sonic and subsonic and have your gun cycle properly in both scenarios. Because obviously your gun uses the gas pressure coming back to push the bolt carrier group back and have it cycle to eject the round and load the new round. I know, getting a little crazy in here, getting a little, Now, subsonic. Now, I guess the next thing is suppressors. They're quiet, right? So how quiet are they? Are they James Bond quiet? Well, I kind of hinted at it earlier in the beginning. Typically for like 5.56, it'll reduce the noise by, I would say around 30. I mean, a lot of you guys might be shouting right now, oh, well, a lot of them will do 34, 32, 35 dBd reduction. That would be decibel reduction. decibel reduction 30 dB is a big deal. That's actually pretty awesome. Usually a suppressed AR-15, you're in that 132, 133 range, coming from like 155, 160, that kind of noise. Actually, 165 is what I'm reading for an M16. Is a typical gunshot. So when you put a suppressor on there, you can expect to get down to 132, 134. Now, what's weird is, depending on the caliber of bullet, you kind of always seem to get down to that like 130, 135. So you can take something really big, like 308, 756, 65 Creedmoor, and you'll get a more dramatic reduction than you get trying to suppress like a 22 or something like that. It's just kind of how it works. The difference between a suppressed bullet, subsonic bullet and not subsonic bullet is typically around, I think it's 1,100 feet per second. Does that sound right, Kevin? You got those numbers in front of you?
No, I don't have it in front of me, but that does sound right.
Yeah, I think it's 1150. Let me bring this up here. I had it right in front of me and ready to go, and now, of course, I don't. I keep seeing 373 meters per second.
Yeah, what the hell does that even mean?
It's about 770 miles per hour, 1,238 kilometers an hour. You get the idea. Go with 1150 is what we're saying. And that's shooting from the hip there. You can use your own interwebs and sort that out. Now, I said we're going to get down to about 134, 135. Definitely with a suppressed weapon, you might see a suppressed 5.56 get down to like 127, something like that. However, let me give you some comparison. Heavy traffic or a noisy restaurant is usually about 80 dB. Welding is 90 dB. An electric sander is like 95 dB. Handheld drill about 100 dB. A chainsaw 105 decibels. Jackhammer 125. That's where I said we're at with like suppressed bullets or subsonic bullets and a suppressor. Live rock band at 130. However, 160 or 150 is fighter jet, and then they say shotgun blast 160, and like I said, an M16 is actually rates in it at 165. So we're not exactly going quiet. We're getting down to jackhammer level. However, think of jackhammer as constant noise, and this is a one shot. The other thing to take note is that not only is it constant noise, you want a suppressor changes the noise so it doesn't really sound the same. People don't hear it as a gunshot. It ends up being more like a thud or like a thump kind of noise rather than a crack or a bang, And so it kind of keeps people from getting as worked up when you shoot them. That has been my experience. What else? There are companies now, typically like around like 300 blackout is there's a million choices for subsonic, and it's kind of, like I said, the perfect bullet because you end up keeping the weight and the velocity reasonable. At subsonic, the weight velocity ratio ends up putting out a great amount of energy, where dropping a deer or something like that is still very plausible. Whereas once you get into the lighter bullets, typical lighter, smaller round, like a 5.56 round, maybe 55 grain, 62 grain, they lose a lot of that stopping power. We all know that you can stop someone, something a person size, like even a deer, with a 22 if you shoot them in the right place, but it does require a shot in the right place when you slow down that velocity. Or maybe you're like the Indian who's tracking the deer for 5 miles through the woods, following little blood trails.
Mhm.
Typically, most companies don't even make a suppressed round for 5.56. There are a few. I did find one. Silent Strike makes a frangible subsonic round, which for 5.56, which actually means that the bullet breaks apart.
Mhm.
Think of like ceramic or something like that. That once it impacts, it kind of breaks up into little stuff. I think when you're like the assassin, that might be the bullet you're buying, where you're like, oh, it's both subsonic. I can use it with a suppressor, and it's going to break up and be hard to, it's not going to disappear where they don't think the person was shot. It's going to disappear that bullet's pretty hard to identify, except for, 20 people in your state have ordered those bullets in the last 6 months. They might, on NCIS or whatever, that's how they always figure that kind of thing out. They're like, oh, but maybe if they have them on the shelf at the gun store and you don't have ID, except when they're like, oh, that weird guy who always comes in here, he buys that a lot.
Yeah, that
I think
fucking
his
weird
name
guy.
is Kevin. He's got a
Yeah.
beard.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's, something that might play out there. Now, there is another option that I would also bring to the table here. And there's a company called Suppressed Weapons Systems. It's Suppressed Weapon Singular Systems.com. And what they do is you'll send them your gun and they'll basically turn the barrel so that it's half barrel, half suppressor.
Mhm.
So it's all the one length. It still basically looks the same. However, it's been drilled out. Usually they put a tube, like a sleeve over it, so it's a little thicker, the barrel, but not a lot. It doesn't look dramatically different. I do know they offer a version for the Ruger Precision Rifle in 308. You can get that, either buy it from them. I think it's like $2,800, or for about $1,600, they'll work the barrel over on your gun and send it back to you all set up. Now, this also requires a tax stamp,
Mhm.
but still kind of cool where, it's all integrated and one piece and whatever. Now, you do run into issues of, well, it's not as cleanable. I believe there's, like I said, it does have a sleeve that slides over it that pulls off, so you can kind of clean out those tubes, orifices, whatever. Now, so that's what I know about legal suppressors. I actually know a little bit more, but for the sake of time, we're not going to go into that. Now, there is an option where you can fill out a tax form where you can make your own suppressor at home.
Ooh.
That's always fun. So
Now let me tell you,
you still have to pay $200.
you still got to pay for the tax stamp. Yeah.
And remember, if you do this without paying for that tax stamp, the ATF is going to come and shoot your dog, because if you try and scam them on $200, that's easily worth taking a life.
Yep. No problem. They have no problem with that.
No problem. So
Now,
homemade. Yeah, go ahead.
Mrs. was asking me about using a potato as a silencer. I've never heard of this, but apparently it's a thing in movies and such. I did a little looking into it, and apparently all it's going to do is make really loud potato salad. It's not gonna. It's not gonna help you out at all. Also, when they put the gun in the pillow to shoot somebody, also does not work for shit.
Yeah, there's something to that, but yes. One of the things I came across in my research of what people were doing. Now, basically, like I said, we're trying to disrupt the sound waves. People do sell, believe it or not, you can buy an ATF tax stamp and buy a Napa oil filter that has the right thread count on the end, which would be a 1/2 by 28 for a typical AR platform barrel, you could buy it like an oil can at Napa that threads on there, and you can get a tax stamp for your oil can and use that as a suppressor, and it works.
It does.
So that's kind of neat.
Even it actually works. I would like to see this, man. I might have to make one of these myself and see what happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're going to pay the $200 and
yeah, never mind that. We'll
that's what I thought. Yeah,
I mean,
see, they're going to
drill it out first. Do you have to drill out the oil filter first, or you just start firing?
I believe they just start firing. It kind of makes its own hole when you shoot bullets at it.
Yeah,
Back
I mean,
pressure
the end of the end of the oil filter and the side of your barrel where your hand is.
Either one, either is an option.
Right.
Now, you have seen where you see they put like a plastic bottle on the end of the gun. Now, believe it or not, I've heard of people duct taping like a 2-liter bottle to the end of their gun. And there's a couple options for noise dampening in there. One is I read that if you fill it a little bit like with water. So there's water like laying on the bottom third, we'll say, of the barrel, whatever the amount is, that it's not going to be dumping water back into your barrel, will actually dissipate the noise. Now that's kind of a one-time use kind of thing.
Right.
Might be a couple-time use if you had a 22, you might get about 10 rounds before, but that sounds very inexpensive. Another trick that I read was
the water bottle with like couch cushioning or something like that stuffed in it, styrofoam or something like that.
I was going to get to couch cushioning.
It might work once or twice, but really it's not going to hold up.
I read about filling a bottle with styrofoam peanuts and then putting boric acid in there, which I believe is going to dissolve it. And this is from a long time ago, this book that I was reading, and a little bit from yesteryear. And I was doing some thinking, and I'm like, well, it's going to melt the styrofoam basically together. So you have a big styrofoam block there. What if you filled it with great stuff? I feel like that might be the answer. Squirt a little great stuff in a 2-liter bottle, obviously after you buy your tax stamp.
Right. And
then you might get, I think they said about 100 rounds out of a 22 with their peanut one. And they said, for 9mm or something, expect like 3 to 5. But I imagine an improvised silencer could be duct tape, 2-liter bottle, and a bottle of great stuff. And I think you might have some benefits there. Now, I did also read some stories about people in other countries, obviously, because in America they didn't want to pay the $200, ripping up car interior and doing what you said of basically wrapping the barrel and imagine past the barrel 6 inches a foot. Think of like that 3-inch foam that you get for, for whatever, cushioning a couch or whatever it is you're going to do. Right. And they wrap it around the barrel and past it, and then wrap that in duct tape, both covering the barrel and, about a foot past it. Wrapping that in duct tape and then getting some kind of noise canceling. So that's if you need the one-time use and you're stuck in the closet with the couch and you need to be really quiet.
Right, and you don't have to aim because you won't.
Now, is it awkward if you're using a suppressed weapon and then you're out with the boys and then you fart really loud?
They hear that? I don't know.
You get the awkward, uncomfortable look.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out fart silencers next, man. That's a whole different. Situation.
Right. So I've probably bored you guys long enough. I just thought, silencers can be a fun thing. They make shooting, like, you just kind of feel, I don't know. It's one more level of headache having to have hearing protection on all the time. And you're pretty much insane if you're shooting an AR-15 without hearing protection. So it makes things, takes it to the next level. It also takes away the scariness. And I think that that's kind of a neat thing, where it's safer to bring your kids out or whatever. Now, again, it kind of gets into this hearing safe for once or twice, but still, if you're going out all day, even with 5.56 suppressed, you're still going to, at least with the kids want hearing protection. With you, it depends how far you've let it go and how much you don't care about your hearing anymore.
Yeah,
I know a lot of guys are just like, yeah, whatever. But a suppressor is going to do a lot better than not, is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So people are dying left and right from the coronavirus. Is that what's happening? They're just dropping in the streets?
Spreading in Italy. Now, a town in northern Italy where they're getting hit hardest. Castelvestro is the name of the town.
Wasn't been to Castelvestro.
For a few hours, Lambrusco wine was coming out of their taps. You could turn on your faucet or your bathtub and just get wine out of it.
That can't be accurate.
So maybe that's how they're putting up with the coronavirus. It had something to do with the way the plumbing was done. I guess they hadn't heard of like backflow preventers in Italy, but the wine fed backwards into the water pipes, and it was about 1,000 gallons or 1,000 liters of wine ran back into the water pipes.
So I don't really understand the whole metric world. So that's like 3 gallons or 1,000 liters?
It's 265 gallons. Wasn't all that much. It was only about 20 houses that it affected. I'm telling you, I'm living in the wrong fucking town. I just got stupid unalcoholic water coming out of my tap. It's ridiculous.
Like common folk.
Uh-huh. Fucking ridiculous. I don't live in the right country.
Ridiculous.
So it's they got it pretty bad in Iran and pretty bad in northern Italy. You can get
is it God smiting the Muslims and the Italians? I mean, the Italians, it's about the shoes, is why God went after them, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't say anything bad about Italians, but aside of the fact that their women are hairy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that God is responsible for the coronavirus. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens here. So China, the spread is starting to slow down.
Really?
So hopefully they're starting to get things under control, and you know how it goes though. You get things from China and they don't last long. That's how this is going,
That's not bad.
Didn't expect it to last forever.
That sounds right. So if you guys are appreciating what you're hearing, you want to tell me about how I call suppressors, silencers, or whatever else it is that's on your mind and you want to share it, you might want to head over to iTunes and leave a review. Or maybe you want to tell Kevin that he should ditch me and get a better co-host. You want to email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. And you can tell us all about it. And within a week or 3, we'll get back to you and, respond and tell you something good. I do have to search out if we have any patches left. I don't really know where we're at on that. But with that, and that would be, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, head over to patreon.com/preppingbadass. You can find out more about those cool patches you might be able to get. With that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
The Survival and Basic Badass podcast is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.